Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I'm not going to feature a live stream. I'm going to feature a pre recorded video. If you checked in my comment section, you already know this. Now, it was supposed to be on politics and social issues. This is what the 411 Talk Zone radio show is about. It's not going to be on that. It's going to be on something different. And I'm getting right back into education because this is a topic that I'm very passionate about. So, tonight's video, I'm going to talk about trades versus college. Trades versus college. Now, I watch a number of YouTube channels, particularly the Black YouTube channels. And there seems to be this obsession with making six figures. Now, before I dive into this college versus trade schools in more depth, let me tell you about making six figures. When you hear a number of people telling you that they make six figures, they're talking about gross, GROSS. That's the money you make before taxes and expenses are extracted. See, the real dollar amount that you have is once all of your taxes, your benefits, even some of your wage garnishments, and even your regular monthly expenses that you have to pay, like your phone, your cable, your electric, your car note, your mortgage, and other monthly items, and even sometimes your, I call it your entertainment fund. I know a number of women out there have these department store cards, and I guarantee those department store cards have a large interest rate. And the interest rate could be between 20 and 25%, which is a lot of money. So when it comes down to making six figures, unless you're making, let's say, 300,000, and you have to understand what your tax rate is. Now, your tax rate, the highest tax rate now is, I believe it could be 35 to 39%. Now, that's only on a federal level. Now, different states have different tax levels as well. I know in New York and California and New Jersey, they have some of the highest tax rates. And then when you look at your Social Security and you look at your what is it, Medicare, well, you total that up, that's 7.62%. So when it comes to six figures, you're really not making six figures. And when you hear individuals, particularly Black women, talk about, oh, I want a man making six figures, or they're making six figures, you start asking them about the deductions. That will really tell you six figures. And even when it comes to tell you they have their own businesses, and this is why I'm going to delve into this topic when it comes to college versus trade schools, because college is a big investment. Now, I say that because some people go to college for the reasons of their moms and dads went to college. Moms and dads could be paying colleges or for college tuition. I know at Purdue University here in Indiana, the college tuition rates are different. Go to main campus, that's one college rate. You go to Fort Wayne, that's another college or tuition rate. Northwest, you name it. Now, when it comes to college, here's what I'm going to suggest. You go to college based on a major that you're interested in, but that major must be marketable. If you go for anything that isn't marketable, you're wasting your time, especially if you are spending a lot of tuition, particularly if you go to somewhere like Harvard or Yale, those Ivy League schools. Now, I know getting into some colleges, they require SATs and ACTs. And if you're going to go to grad school, GMAT exams. Well, what about a community college? Now, Ivy Tech Community College, in my humble opinion, and I'm going to show you my bias, is one of the best systems besides the Virginia Community College system because the state runs those systems. And when it comes to getting a degree, before you even step into a 4 year college, you should go and check out a 2 year college. In fact, if you're in high school, you have to make sure that your grades are up to par because even in college, if your grades aren't up to par, you're going to get into remedial classes, which they're going to set you behind. Now, generally, remedial colleges have a course number starting with a zero, like 095, which is called some type of reading or general math. When you get in college, you need to understand the course numbers. Now, there are some colleges that have 3 digit course numbers, some have 4 digit course numbers. But anything, I just want to tell you this, anything that generally begins with a zero is a remedial class. This is what advisors aren't telling you. Anything that begins with a one, like 100 to 199, that's a freshman level course, or 1000 to 1999. I went to Temple University, and the course numbers were funny there, and then they began to go to the 4 digit course numbering system. Now at Purdue, it's 5 digits, but the concept is still the same. If you're going from taking courses on a 200 level to 299 or 2000 to 2999 or 20,000 to 299.99, you're in your sophomore level courses. When you're taking courses that start with a 300 to 399, 300 to 39.99, 30,000 to 399.99, you are in your junior year. And then in your 4th year, 400 to 499, 4,000 to 49.99, 40,000 to 499.99, you are in your senior year. Now, anything above that, because numbers go into the 500, 600, now you're on your graduate level. Most of them go to around 600. Now, you need to know that because when you are transferring credits from one college to another, this can make college very difficult, being a transfer student, or even transferring from a community college to a 4 year college. You need to check out articulation agreements. Now, for those who are in the trades, and I will say this, generally your trade degrees from a community college are known as AAS degrees. An AAS degree is an associate in applied science degree. Now that degree is generally a degree that you will get within a field that's a trade like HVAC, that's welding. Now, the problem with a lot of AAS degrees is if you don't have any certifications, like a 608 or 609 from HVAC or CWI from welding, it's going to be very hard for you to get into 4 year institutions. Now, here's what 4 year institutions are doing, some of them. If you have an AAS degree, not an AS degree. Now, if you get an AS degree or an AA or AA degree and they articulate with a 4 year institution, you're generally good because they generally have an articulation agreement, or it could be a 2+2 program. But with an AAS degree, it is very difficult to get into a 4-year institution. Now, some schools like Purdue, Fort Wayne, have come out with a BAS degree. A BAS degree is a Bachelor's of Applied Science. Now, why am I giving you all this information? Well, I'm giving you all this information because there are a lot of students who are pondering whether they should go to college, or should they go for a trade, or should they even go to the military. Now, that is going to be based on your own personality. Now, again, I am not against going to college. I believe college is a good thing. However, college has become what I call an indoctrination camp, especially if you go into the social science fields. Now, here's what I'm going to say when you go to college. If you are very good in math during your high school years, or if you go to a community college, then you transfer to a 4-year institution, go into STEM. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And if you want to know more about STEM, you can check out my second channel, formerly the Mind of STEM channel. It's the QCIS channel. And on that channel, I give you more information about STEM majors. I even perform inspection duties, and I do mathematics on that channel. But what I'm giving you right now is information on whether you decide to go to college or trade school. Now, don't get me wrong, everything has a pro and con, so it's up to you. Now, again, a pro of going to college is that degreed individuals make more than individuals who just went for a high school diploma. However, when you come out of college, you're going to have a lot of debt, especially if you go to college for something that is not marketable. Now, when you go to a trade school and learn a trade, and there are pros and cons to trades, because some degrees from a trade school like Lincoln Tech, it could last a short amount of time, but it could also cost a lot of money. And then you have to look at what the colleges are offering. Some of them will tell you, okay, we'll give you a certificate. Well, you're actually paying for that certificate. And when it comes to college and or trade schools, you have to look at the fees that are charged as well. And you also have to look at the textbooks. Now, the good thing I can tell you about some colleges, they're now putting their textbooks online. You can go and sign up for, it's a website called VitaSource. Generally, you'll find that book, and it's a lot cheaper for you to use that textbook from VitaSource than ordering a print book. Print books can cost you $152 or even $300. When you go to VitaSource, you can get on a lifetime membership of using that book for $50. Or you can use the book just for the duration of the semester. But regardless, you have to look at cost benefit analysis when you go to college. What am I going to get on my ROI, a return on investment? Many of us don't ask those questions because we don't know what the questions are. Now, what I'm giving you is my own experience of going to college. Now, something else you can do if you go to the military, you have the GI Bill, or you have the National Guard, you're a veteran, you can use those funds to pay for college as well. Also, scholarships, you can pay for college. Now, of course, trade schools, they have apprenticeships, so you can be a journeyman. You can Be with the union. There's a lot of benefits. Now, if you look at both areas, just going to tell you when you go to college or if you go to trade school, you want to obtain a license or certification. That holds a lot of weight because employers look at that. And if you are going to start a business and you have those qualifications through a license and a certificate, clients are going to have more trust in you, especially if you have done the work, because with the certification and the license, you've already proven the general knowledge of you, of your field of work. Again, you've acquired the general knowledge of your field of work through testing, and you have to constantly upgrade your tests or your certifications with money every 3 to 5 years. And remember, technology changes. In every field, you have to understand technology. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to talk about trade school versus college here in 2022, pros and cons, and of course, job opportunities. Now, understand this. Students can choose several paths to higher education. For many, a number of them start with pursuing a college degree. Now, when it comes to the statistics, right around 18 million students enrolled in colleges and universities are graduating from secondary school. Now, this is as of fall of 2019. Now, for other students, higher education could mean going to a trade school. Now, as I stated before, if you're choosing between a trade school or college, it would be a good start to know the difference between the two. Now, again, I have given you an overview of that in this video. Furthermore, both college and trade school can equip you with the knowledge that you're going to need to enter the workforce to pursue further studies. Now, there are several differences, and I just mentioned the cost, the duration of study, and the prospects of getting a job are a few things to consider when making a decision. Now, when you go to college, a community college is basically for 2 years. A university is 4 years. And then if you want a master's, that's another 2 years. And if you want a doctorate, that could be 4 to 7 years. So you have to ask yourself, what are you going to get a return on your investment by staying in school for a long time? Well, again, what I'm going to give you is something that's going to help you out. And I'm going to provide you with an in-depth comparison of college and trade school. And I'm going to focus on both pros and cons. So by the end of this video, you're going to have the data that you need to make an informed decision. Now, first of all, is a trade school better than college? Again, that depends on your personality, what your interests are. But truth to be told, I'm going to say this. One cannot say that a trade school is categorically better than college or vice versa. Why? Because after all, students basically have their own interests, life plans, and careers that they want to follow. And when I talk about careers, they're paths within the careers. Now, as such, the value of one type of school over another will largely depend on their personal preferences. Now, this is very important because with 70% of jobs requiring some form of college education or post-secondary education schooling by 2027, either type of school will allow you to become more competitive as you enter the workforce. On one hand, college can help you hone your reasoning and logic and widen your knowledge about your field of study. And on the other hand, trade school allows you to develop industry specific skill sets that employers will surely find impressive. Now, trade schools are also great in helping students understand their aptitude for a particular profession. Now, this is backed up by a 2020 study titled Effects of a Vocational Program on Professional Orientation. Now, this was published in Hellion, now, and which is by Manuel Emiliano Quadraga Garza and his colleagues explored how vocational programs, such as those offered in trade schools, affected healthcare students' perception of their future profession. Now, in their findings, they noted while half of the participants are already dedicated to their chosen program before participating in vocational activities, 30% of the participants stated that they believe the program helps them make a decision regarding their career choice. In addition, they said about 47% of the participants said that the vocational program increased their desire and interest in pursuing a career in healthcare, and 58% attribute the success of the program to the inclusion of the students. And this is near peer mentoring. And again, this is a statistic source, Georgetown University, research.com. 70% of all jobs will require some college education by the year of 2027. Now, as I continue, what is a trade school? Many people don't know. Well, basically, a trade school is an educational institution that offers secondary and post-secondary level programs, sometimes referred to as a technical school, vocational school, or even vocational college. And basically, when we deal with trade schools, they focus on honing in on manual, mechanical, or technical skills for specific operations. Welding, machinery, HVAC, which that's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and even auto mechanics. Now, again, these programs in this type of educational institution are designed to provide students with specific training on hard skills needed for a particular job. Now, the curricula involve streamlined courses and learning methodologies that allow students to gain hands-on experiences within a specific trade. Again, specific trade could be drafting and design. Now, drafting and design is a funny one because that's also linked to architectural type of studies and engineering, like mechanical, civil. But also it could be its own skill because HVAC have to learn how to design a system. And the funny thing about HVAC is mechanical. Now, back to the information. And I talk about gaining experience on a specific trade. Why? Because in this way, students become equipped to enter the workforce faster and they get the best jobs for trade school graduates. Now, what I mean by that, when you spend 4 years in college, you're not out there in the workforce. Now, the way you can combat that in college is you need to go for an intern all 4 years because you're gaining experience. Now, again, a lot of college education now provides internships. And the key to actually getting paid at a higher salary when you get out of college is to gain experience. Experience plus a degree gets you a higher salary. If you were just coming out with a 4-year degree, you're going to be green. You're going to be at the bottom. Now, when it comes to somebody that's gone for a trade, they're already in the workforce. They got their certifications. And in a number of cases, depending on the specificity of the vocation that they're doing, such as HVAC, Number of individuals who are in trades can make more than college degree students. And here's the key, they also have less debt. Again, the military, you can also learn a trade. If you do well on the ASVAB in the military, the ASVAB is the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery. That's the ASVAB. I had to take it when I went into the military. You get into better jobs. And if you're going to go in the military, I'm going to tell you this. Don't let the recruiters put you in the field that they want to put you in so they can meet their quota. They don't care about you. They care about meeting their quota. This is your career when you go into the military. You get into something that is going to match what you see in the civilian world. So you need to ask these questions when you sit down with a recruiter, and I'm talking about an enlisted recruiter. What can I do with this particular job in the real world? And if they don't have an answer, or if there's no match, don't take the job. I did that as an operations specialist. Then I had to become a CB. Well, because I didn't have the knowledge that I have now, and I'm passing on the knowledge now to people who are going into the military, don't let the recruiter blow smoke. They will do it because they're there to get you in. The more people that they get in, the better their quota is. And when they meet their goals, that's going to be part of their evaluation, and it's going to help them attain a certain amount of points for a promotion. That's how the military works. I know. Now, at the end of a trade school program, students are awarded diplomas or certificates. Now, in some cases, they may also be awarded associate's degrees. Now, when I talk about associate's degrees from trades, I'm talking about AAS degrees. Now, in some cases, if there are AS programs, like I'll give you an example at Ivy Tech Community College here in Indiana. If you get an AS in design and drafting technology, which is now called design technology, you can actually go over to IUPUI as part of a 2+2 program to get into their interior design technology program. Now, let me also make a correction on something too, because I told you about the AAS degree that you cannot get into some four-year colleges. Well, I said that without obtaining a Bachelor of Applied Science degree. Now, in some special cases, you can. I'll give you an example. If you get an AAS from Ivy Tech in construction management, or they call it building construction management, you get it in, they call it BOAT, which is business operations, applications, and technology. That's where you deal with all of your Microsoft products. You can actually transfer that degree, and that's an AAS degree, into the BS program in organizational leadership and supervision. That's at IUPUI. Now, those are some of the exceptions I gave you where you can utilize an AAS degree. But again, most of the time, when you finish a trade school, you can get at least a diploma. But associate's degrees, they're also, you can also get associate's degrees as well. But this is something that you have to pay attention to when you go to college. A lot of students don't pay attention to their curriculum. And sometimes they don't see their advisor ask questions, because when you get any type of certification, it can prepare you for a licensing exam. And when you get that license, that's going to help with qualifications. And with degrees that can help you get a license or a diploma, which can also help you with a license. Students can prepare for a licensing exam, or they can immediately become an apprentice in a trade. That's if it's union. Now, currently, the National Association of State Directors of Career Technology Education Consortium, known as NASDEC, has defined 16 different vocational clusters and 79 career pathways that trade school students can advance. And some of them, and I just mentioned two of them: business, nursing, construction, IT. And the reason why I talk about those fields, they're the most popular. When I mention organizational leadership, that's similar to management. Now, I just defined what trade school is. What is college now? Okay, different meaning. Because when we deal with college, that is a degree awarding institution. That's right. You have your research universities like the University of Michigan, Purdue University, University of Maryland, University of Illinois. Those are research institutions. Those are examples of a college degree awarding institution of higher learning, and they all focus on undergraduate programs, be it as a standalone school or as part of a collegiate or federal university. Now, this type of university provides academic learning experiences that give students a deeper understanding of key topics within a field of study. Now, these programs offered in colleges are mostly grounded in classroom instruction. Now, again, you have schools like Penn State Global, University of Maryland Global, Purdue University Global. They offer online courses. And then now you have what we call virtual courses that are on platforms like mine that I'm using now called Zoom. Now, although some practical and hands-on learning opportunities may also be in a form of internships and immersions, beyond these, however, college curricula are often theory-based, focusing on the principles of a particular area of study. This provides students with a wider understanding of a particular industry, and it allows them to be ready for different types of jobs within the field. Now, important thing to note about college is that a large majority of these institutions are privately owned and receive little to no funding from the government. Generally, private institutions like Widener University or Bucknell University in Pennsylvania and Notre Dame University here in Indiana, they cost a lot more. And you have to understand, with this in mind, colleges do not place as much emphasis on research as universities. And some of these colleges are religious affiliations like Olivet Nazareth University, which is in Illinois, but they do have some other branches. Now, in addition, some of these colleges might offer limited scholarships and financial aid options. Some may also have strong religious affiliations, again, like Oliver Nazareth University. Now, among the most popular fields exploring colleges are business, health sciences, social sciences, engineering, biological and biomedical sciences, and psychology. Now, again, this is a stat. Most popular fields by number of degrees conferred. Now, these are based on 2018, 2019 stories, statistics rather. These statistics are based off of numbers that came from NCES back in 2020, designed by research.com. Now, if you look at this chart, business degrees, and business is the most popular major, and it's one of the easiest majors as well. And the problem with business is saturated. Now, as you see with this graph, this bar graph, business has 390, 564,000 confirmed degrees. Now, when you get down to the health professions, and this is true, The easier majors are generally at the top or at the bottom, and in the middle, that's when you get more difficult. That's when you have less degrees. Now, when we get into the health professions, this chart shows that there are only 251,355 conferred degrees. Now we get easy. Now, I'm not a big fan of social science and history. You're going to take some of those courses as part of your undergraduate curriculum, no matter what curricula you go into in college. They want you to be well rounded. But you see, they have 160,628. Now, you can go into law school if you get a degree in social science. Now, engineering, this is what I'm part of. When we deal with engineering, engineering has approximately 126,687 conferred degrees. Engineering is a very difficult major. Most people don't make it through engineering. That's why they end up at the top in business. Then you go into biological and biomedical sciences, and that's 121,191. Now, these numbers are a little older. They could be higher now. Psychology, 116,536. That's also saturated. And when I say saturated, generally at the baccalaureate level, it's going to be very difficult to get a job because it's going to be extremely competitive. So you're going to have to go for a master's and a doctorate. And when you get a doctorate, you can be a professor. Now, there are special doctorate degrees. I call them professional doctorates, like the Doctor of Engineering, the Doctor of Business, and they're your jurisprudence degrees, your Doctor of Jurisprudence, or your Doctor of Education, or your Doctor of Psychology. Those are degrees if you're going to go in those fields, and you need those degrees with doctor in front of them if you're going to make any kind of career moves in those fields, because again, they're extremely saturated. And then communication, journalism, and related, right about 92,528. Basically, journalism is almost dead. I would not even consider that degree. It's, in my humble opinion, journalism and even some of your social science degrees in history, that's where you get the most indoctrination. This is why you have people working at your CNNs and your, they're very, when it comes to politics, very liberal. That's why I would probably stay away from those types of degrees. Now, my best bet, I would go with the health professions and related programs, nursing, being a doctor. I would go with engineering. And I would go with biological and biomedical sciences. And I may do some psychology if it's industrial psychology. And that's when you can get into organizational leadership. Now, with that, all that being said, let's talk about the trade school versus college pros and cons, because trade school programs and college programs, again, are both equipped to help you build the foundations of your professional career. However, they have differences that may affect the trajectory of your career goals. So to help you out, this section that I'm going to tell you is going to discuss some of the most critical trade school versus college pros and cons to consider when choosing between these two types of educational institutions. Now, when we get into the programs, one must understand, well, what programs are offered and what's the definition of the nature of the programs. Well, when it comes to college, the nature of college programs and, of course, trade school programs have 1 minute but critical difference. The teaching approach. College focuses on the academic, while trade schools focus on the vocational. As such, the available programs and courses they offer may vary. For example, in trade schools, the programs revolve around specific occupation or occupations. So, to give you an example, one would expect to see programs for cosmetology, construction, manufacturing, emergency services, legal services, or information services. That's for trade schools. Now, in contrast, colleges tailor programs to cover general fields of study. And as a result, it is not uncommon to see degree programs in broad topics such as business, education, liberal arts, engineering, or psychology. These are then subdivided into different majors that students can choose from once they are in their junior year. For example, if a student takes up a degree in business, he or she can choose a major in a more specific subfield such as finance, accounting, or even business administration. Now, aside from this, the difference in programs, students can also expect some differences in the skills they can pick up in each institution. Now, when it comes to trade schools, again, when it comes to trade schools or vocational schools, they're very straightforward and there's not as many extracurricular activities available. Now, some students may end up being unable to hone soft skills like communication and leadership. Meanwhile, when it comes to colleges, there are usually plenty of opportunities where students can get exposed to different cultures or character building activities. Also, moving on, what about the duration of the program? Again, a college degree program, they basically are comprised of 120 to 120 semester credit hours. In most cases, this can be completed within 4 years as long as you don't drop any classes or you go to summer school. However, there are programs that allow students to stagger the fulfillment of the credits in 7 to 10 years. Again, on the flip side, there are also accelerated online programs that can be completed in 2 years, but this is often reserved for students who have previously earned college credits or have work and life experience that can be converted into college credits. That would be a school like, I call it TESU, Thomas Edison State University in New Jersey, Excelsior University up in Albany, New York. Now, on the other hand, trade school programs are equivalent to approximately 60 credits of coursework. This is often completed within 8 months to 2 years, depending on how much load you commit to per semester. Again, 12 credited hours in regular college is full time. Now, with these in mind, the duration of college programs can give you more time to learn about your chosen field of study. However, if you're looking to get a job and start earning money right away, trade schools are definitely the better option. Now, the most important, let's talk about the price of education. Now, it is common knowledge that pursuing higher education is expensive. However, between colleges and trade schools, the former is definitely going to cost more. In fact, experts have seen a continual rise in college tuition up until the coronavirus pandemic started. Now, according to the most recent college affordability and transparency list from the U.S. Department of College Education, or let's call it the U.S. Department of Education, college tuition can cost anywhere between $1,000 and $60,000 annually. And that depends on the type of school you enroll and whether you are an in state or out of state student. In addition, there are colleges that might require you to reside inside the campus. There are plenty of colleges. Most of your bigger schools are going to require you, and you can't even bring a car as a freshman. So you're going to have to stay inside a campus dormitory, and that's going to cost you more money, which it could only mean additional room and board fees as well as other daily costs such as meals and supplies. Now, on the other hand, trade schools are more affordable, with students paying anywhere from roughly $3,900 to $15,000 in tuition fees. Plus, the programs are relatively cheaper. And it only makes sense that the overall cost is lower as well. This is one of the reasons that make trade schools great for students who are on a tight budget. Now, as we take a look at the graph, this is by the U.S. Department of Education. the average tuition fee in 4-year and 2-year schools. Now, again, the 2-year schools, they're in the amber. The 4-year schools, they're in the blue. So when it comes to the public 2-year schools, your average per year, and you have to, and this is in US dollars, and this is how much money you have to look at the graph. It's how much money you're going to be paying. So if you look at the 2-year public schools, there's 10K. Look at the data. So if you go to a public 2-year school, you're going to be paying around $3,900, $3,855, but I round it off to $3,900. Then your 4-year school. Now, I'm going to base this off, and this is going to be an assumption that it is an in-state school with tuition and board. You're around $8,200. Now, also when it comes to 2-year and 4-year colleges, there are colleges for profit that are private and are non-profit. Now, your private colleges are like your DeVries. They're your private colleges for profit. Now, your private not-for-profit are like your University of Notre Dame's. Now, for a 2-year private college, you're looking at roughly around, and this is not for profit, you're looking right around $14,000. And for your 4-year colleges, now this is your average tuition fee. And you can break that up into 2 years or 4 years. That's how you interpret the data. Your average for 4 years for a private not-for-profit is going to be around $28,000. Then we go to private for profit, your 2-year schools, right around $15,000. And then your private for profit 4-year schools, right around $16,000. So funny thing about it is your 2-year private for profit, that is a little higher than your private not-for-profit, but going to your 4-year institution, the 4-year institution private not-for-profit is almost twice as much as it is for 4-year private for profit. So that should tell you right there. And then if you look at your basically public schools, and if you interpret the data, this should already help you make a decision when it comes to cost. Now we have to go to what we call job readiness. Now, as mentioned previously, the curricula of trade schools and colleges are different in the sense that the former focuses on job-specific coursework, while the latter focuses on general learning paths. Now, this only means that students enrolled in trade schools are provided with the practical training they need so they can hit the ground running once they start a job. Now, again, when it comes to job readiness, once they hit the ground running, they no longer need to be taught what to do aside from company protocols because their vocational training has already equipped them to work according to industry standards. Now, that's if you go to a trade school. Yeah, once you hit a trade school, you're not going to need any teaching because you're already learning on a job. Now, college students, in comparison, are provided with the coursework that mostly focuses on theoretical principles. Now, let me stop right there. If you're going for an engineering program, most of the work is theoretical. Now, if you're going for an engineering technology program, most of your coursework has some theoretical principles, but it's basically application. So you're doing the hands-on. So when you're doing an engineering technology program, you're right in between somebody who's doing a vocational type of job and somebody who is doing a theoretical job like engineering. That's why it's good to go for engineering technology because you see both sides. Now, when I talk about coursework being focused on theoretical principles, this allows students to understand the fundamentals of the field, and they develop critical thinking skills as well as build a diverse knowledge of topics that are relevant to an industry like engineering. However, this does not necessarily mean that you are equipped to perform specific jobs upon getting hired, unless you get experience in that specific job. So, as such, they will rely on additional training from their employers. However, while job readiness might be lacking amongst college students, thus the plus side to the curriculum they are exposed to is that they will not be limited to one career path. Again, when I say go to college to get something that is marketable, see what jobs within that field you can get. Example, civil engineering. If you don't want to go and be a designer within the field of civil engineering, you can go into construction management. You can even go into surveying. You can go into water resources engineering. Those are fields within side fields, just like hospitality management. If you don't want to work in a restaurant, you can work in a hotel. You can work in an institutional facility or medical facility because there are plenty of jobs and they're available. And you have to do your research when it comes to jobs. Now, you also have to get with they have job banks, they have career fairs at schools. So if you are going for a specific field, ask the questions. Also, ask the questions of your advisor. Sometimes advisors, they don't know what they're doing either. And if they don't know what they're doing, refer to this video because I know what I'm telling you. I've been to my fair share of colleges, made my fair share of mistakes, and I can help you better than they can. And they're getting paid to do it. And I'm doing this for free. And I'm giving you the best knowledge that YouTube has to offer when it comes to colleges, because I've been to a number of them and I've been to the military as well. Now, something that you must keep in mind too when it comes to college, colleges have admission requirements. Again, the processes are competitive or rigorous, especially when it comes to the elite institutions like a Harvard or a Yale. Why? Because each school will have its own admission standards, but there are similarities in their application requirements. And many of them require you to submit your school transcripts. Now, if you're a transfer student, you have to get all of your official transcripts from your other colleges. If you are a high school student or you even got a GED, you have to get information on your GED and your high school transcripts, AP scores. You have to get letters of recommendation, especially if you're going to go to the service academies like the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy, and I believe has to be a senator that has to write you a letter of recommendation. And if you're going to grad school, you have to get letters of recommendation. Some colleges will require you to do an application essay on why do you want to come to this college and why do you want to pursue this field. And then you have to make sure you do well on your ACT or your SAT. Now, also, you have to have a good grade point average as well. Because if you have a good grade point average, they may cut you some slack on your SAT or ACT. Now, keep in mind that the above mentioned requirements, schools might have varying standards of cumulative GPA, AP scores, as well as SAT and ACT scores. For instance, colleges might pay more attention to students with a cumulative GPA of 3.0. Meanwhile, other colleges may be more interested on how you did on your AP classes relevant to the program you're applying to. Yeah, if you're taking AP classes or CLEP classes, I know the military has CLEP classes, you pass your CLEP test, which is your college level examination preparation. Those are known as CLEP. You can actually test out of some of your Englishes and your math, and you get college credits for them. And if you're also taking college level or AP courses in high school, you can also get college level credits, which will decrease your cost of tuition in going to college. Now, aside from the standard requirements, students may also need to ask if they need to submit additional documents that are specific to the program they're interested in. These could include the International English Language Testing System, known as, I call it LEATS, or International Test of English Proficiency, ITEP scores, for those looking to take up English or liberal arts. On the other hand, if you're taking up architecture or fine arts, you may be required to submit your portfolio. And when you have to take tests for English or liberal arts or even architecture, you know that's extremely competitive. So you have to look at that as well. Is that something you want to do? Now, on the other hand, trade school admissions is very simple. It's much simpler than college. Applicants must be at least 16 or 18 years old, depending on the school they are applying to. Often, the only requirement would be to bring your high school diploma or its GED equivalent, and you have to pass the admissions test. However, certain programs might have additional requirements. Now, moving on. Career opportunities of trade school versus college graduates. Well, as you graduate from high school, there are plenty of questions that you might be asking. Should I go to college? Is trade school worth it? But you know the list is going to go on. Luckily, as far as career opportunities go, both trade school and college graduates do have plenty of options, but you must know what they are. As such, both can provide you with long-term benefits to financial stability. Again, if you know your options when going to a college or a trade school, ask the questions. What or where can I get the long-term benefits to financial stability? However, one might need to note the differences when it comes to earning potential, career flexibility, and job security. And with some construction jobs, they're unionized, or in some college jobs. And when I say unionized, during the construction season, how much work are you going to get? What's going to happen during the winter time? Are you going to get training? This is in the construction field, like being an equipment operator. And if you're going to college, what kind of job can I get with a degree in social science or humanities? Is that going to offer me job stability or job security? Because average salaries in general, college degree holders have a higher earning potential than trade school graduates, according to the latest data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The median annual age of professionals who have post-secondary non-degree awards is right around $38,000. Then those with an associate's degree typically earn about $52,000 a year or $53,000 a year. Now, post-secondary education, that means education after high school. That's what post-secondary education, not postgraduate education. So that means, from what I just told you, you're going to earn $38,000 higher than those who have an associate's degree. And the ones with an associate's degree, they're going to earn right around $53,000 more than those with a high school diploma. Now, that also varies by the state you live in as well. These are average numbers. So some of the highest paying jobs for trade school graduates are air traffic controllers, radiation therapists, nuclear technicians, and electrical repairmen. Now, in addition to these, pharmacists, midwives, and court reporters also earn an above average annual compensation. Now, let's go to the graph again. We're going to start dealing with some technicians, some therapists, and some technologists. Could be from a 2-year institution, could be trades. Now, these are the jobs requiring post-secondary non-degree award or an associate's degree. Air traffic controllers, if you can get in there, they have the highest. And this is wage. Wage be about 124,000, but they don't tell you how long you need to be in the field as a air traffic controller. So numbers can be deceiving. How long, or is that the median, or is that the highest? Well, based on the graph, and this is by the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, designed by research.com, air traffic controllers median salary is $124,540. Radiation therapists, $80,570. Nuclear technicians, at around $80,000. Electrical or electronics repairmen, right around $78,000 or $78,410. Anybody involved in mortuary and funeral service, right around $78,000. Firefighters, $76,000. Nuclear medicine technologists at around $76,000. So, dealing with all those numbers, the median or the mean annual wage for professionals with a bachelor's degree is right around $73,000. This can reach $104,000. These are approximate numbers. If you choose to pursue a master's or doctorate degree, as well as supplemental studies or supplementary studies. Now, among the highest paying jobs for college graduates include chief executives, computer and information managers, as well as architectural and engineering managers. Now, that second line, with the exception of chief executives, I mentioned computer and information systems managers, architectural and engineering managers. Somebody tell me where those other fields come from. I'll give you the answer right now. But if you know the answer, write it in my comment section. I'm going to tell you the answer, and I don't know if you watched the video. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And my other channel will supply you with a lot of these answers. So basically, median salary in US dollars, chief executives earn about $183,000. And when we get into computer science and information managers, around 139. I'm just giving you whole numbers. Yes, there are going to be some extra hundreds of dollars added, but I'm just giving you whole numbers. You can see the graph once you look at this video. Engineering majors, architectural majors, 138,000. Airline pilots, co-pilots, 137,000. Petroleum engineers, right around 132,000. Marketing managers, 132,000. Financial managers, 125,000. And these are all median annual wages for individuals who have bachelor's degrees. Again, it depends on what state. All these numbers are based on an average. So when we say median, it's right in the middle. However, it is crucial to note that college students do not always have a higher income than trade school graduates. And I was getting ready to tell you that because it's much easier for somebody from trade school to start their own business because they're already learning their trade. And if they've already learned their trade and gotten a license, they can already open their business. Whereas not everybody's going to open up a business with a bachelor's degree. In fact, a lot of people with bachelor's degrees have debt. Now, after all, one's earnings often depend on several factors, such as the industry they choose, their work experience, as well as an additional training they may have taken after finishing their studies. Also, let's look at career flexibility. Well, college students have a good understanding of broad concepts, allowing them to have some knowledge of the different aspects of a field of study. As their knowledge is not tied to a particular job, they can be more flexible in choosing a career as well as switching careers further down the road. This is what makes it possible for journalism degree holders to end up in the marketing industry, while marketing majors can get jobs in public relations. In some cases, college graduates even take on jobs that are not related to their majors at all. Well, that's because they don't tell you this. Their majors are saturated at the baccalaureate level. So they have to find jobs that are outside their industries. Now, job security overall, those who will choose to pursue post secondary education have higher job security than those who do not. Bachelor's degree holders, for example, have an unemployment rate of 2.2% compared to those without a degree, 3.3%, which is not much difference. That 1% is not much of a difference. So that right there, I'm telling you, you don't necessarily need a degree. Now, this rate only becomes lower the higher the level of degree you attain. However, it is important to note that attending college is not necessarily a one-way ticket to getting job security. So it is crucial to look at the state of the industry you're interested in. For instance, tech jobs have been outsourced for years, so it might be difficult for college graduates to find an employer. Another example would be jobs in accounting, as the tasks that accountants perform are becoming automated in a lot of businesses. Meanwhile, trade school students, contrary to popular belief, are more stable on this front. This is because most vocational careers cannot be outsourced or automated. Some examples are plumbing, nursing, paramedics, general automotive, or paralegals. And you also should throw HVAC in there as well. Plus, the United States is currently experiencing a skilled labor shortage. Remember, as we get into supply chain management, this is where you have transportation, warehousing, manufacturing, and similar industries have reported having more job openings than workers back in 2019. This can only mean that there is a demand for trade school graduates, and we expect this to continue its trajectory in the near future. So let's look at the average annual unemployment rate by educational attainment, this by BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So when we deal with a doctoral degree, the unemployment rate is going to be 1.1%. A professional degree, 1.6. Now, a professional degree could be a professional doctorate degree, 1.6%. Then a master's degree, 2%. A bachelor's degree, 2.2%. An associate's degree, 2.7%. Some college with no degree, 3.3%. Again, it depends on what you're doing. So you have to be careful of how you interpret the numbers, because you could have somebody with no degree be in a field like heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and their unemployment rate is much lower than somebody who has a doctorate degree. Now, moving on, you have to ask yourself, which is the right option for you, trade school or college? Again, students have plenty of reasons to pursue higher education. Trends in higher education indicate that people who finish their degrees get better job prospects, receive a higher income, get better employment benefits, and of course, they gain more opportunities for advancement in their careers. Now, both trade school and college can help you in achieving these goals. Luckily, determining which one is the right option for you does not have to be too complicated. So, I'm just going to say this. Trade school is ideal for students who have a clear path in mind, as the programs do not really offer any chance to explore topics adjacent to their field of choice. Plus, because the programs are shorter, more affordable, it is great if you're working on a limited budget and are looking to enter the workforce sooner rather than later. Meanwhile, Colleges seem to have a better choice for those who want to gain in-depth knowledge about a particular field of study and for those who thrive in academic institutions. Now, its cost may be higher than trade schools, but you can choose to apply for financial aid as well as scholarships if need be. Or you can pay out of your pocket using payment programs or go to a two-year college and then transfer to a four-year college, and you won't have to use any loans at all because you have to pay loans back. This is why students end up in a lot of debt. And you have to go into a marketable field. You go into a degree that is not marketable, you're going to be in debt. And it's going to be hard to get out of debt, especially if you go into a field that's not marketable. Have to think of that using your common sense. And you have to look at what you're interested in. Now, that's why I say the military is an option, because you can go to school later. Now, as an alternative, students can start their post-secondary education at a trade school and then pursue further studies at a four-year college later on. With this option, students may even be able to shorten their time of their program by asking their school to acknowledge their previous college credits or to convert their work experience into credits. Now, that's also if your school is accredited too. Make sure, because you might have some schools out there that aren't accredited by the Higher Learning Commission or any of these other regional accreditation boards. Look at accreditation and if and see if your credits can transfer. Now, whichever one you choose, you can be rest assured that there are plenty of quality learning opportunities available, and there will be career paths for you to choose from if you're looking to kickstart your search for a school. And also take a look at the list of best public, private, and community institutions of America. And again, like I said, it's your future, it's your choice. You have to be the one that's going to decide what's going to be best for you. Now, again, I will say this, college is not for everybody. So if you are in a pickle right now, start to look at your costs, start to look at what your interests are. Find out if they're personality tests to see what field matches you. Again, I look at colleges today in some fields, particularly social science, as more of an indoctrination fest. And when it comes to college, it's a big investment. When it comes to trade schools, they're also big investments. But again, you have to look at automation, outsourcing. And just as I told you before, when it comes to your hands-on, plumbing, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, auto mechanics, they can't be outsourced or automated. When it comes to accounting, accounting is being automated. You can ship accounting out, and that's a degree. And for accounting, you also have to have a CPA. There's some people working in accounting who don't have a CPA or a CMA, some type of certification if you're going to make more money. And with a CMA or a CPA, you can open up your own firm. Again, when it comes to college, look at STEM. If you're going to a two-year college, also look at STEM, industrial technology, design technology, look at hospitality management. You have to do the research yourself. Like I said, I'm giving you some information that can help you, but look at the information. Don't always ask a guidance counselor from high school either, because they're not always going to tell you the truth. A lot of these school administrators don't know anything. They're there to get a check. So it's up to you as a student, especially if you're in college and you're transferring like I did. And if you're going to transfer from one college to another, make sure you have a syllabus. The syllabus will give the school a chance to look to see if the course you took at a previous institution matches their course. And here's what it's not going to be told to you either. Have the department look at the textbook. So each syllabus, if they have a textbook, like say if I'm transferring a materials science and engineering course over here, and they just call themselves materials technology, and the courses are similar. Look at what textbook they use and look at what textbook you use. See, what I'm doing is trying to save you some money if you're a transfer student. And I'm also trying to save you some money if you don't have a clue what you want to do by going into the military and then going to a trade school, because you can earn college credits in the military. Your DD-14, your DD-214 carries some weight as well. I know the Community College of the Air Force has its own college. So the Air Force has its own college. So you can get a degree from there as well, almost free with your AFSC, which is your Air Force Specialty Code now. That code is just like an MOS in the Army and the Marines and a rating in the Navy. So again, overall, colleges and universities versus trade schools. They all have their pros and cons, but it's up to you as the person to see what's best for you. Don't let anybody tell you what they believe, because the career is your career. You have some individuals that might not even have careers. Like some of your parents, they might be living through you because they don't have careers, or they do have careers, but they didn't maximize their opportunities. Yeah, you can get some pointers on the admission process. But what I've told you is a good overview of the admissions process if you want to get into college. Again, college is not for everybody. The military is not for everybody. Trade schools aren't for everybody. But when you look at a career, something else that wasn't explained, need job satisfaction. If you go in a particular field, research to see how much job satisfaction people had in that job. Also, if you're looking for certain companies out there, go on over to glassdoor.com and you type that particular organization into the address box. See what people are saying about that company. And if you get a lot of negative comments, don't go for that job. I mean, it takes a lot of research to get to where you want to go, but it's up to you on where you want to go. Because when it comes to education, you got to be the judge, no one else. Individuals are going to give you their opinion, but an opinion is like an ass. We all have one. But base your opinions off of facts. Be one who knows how to critically think. Don't think with emotion. Emotions always cloud critical thinking. And when it comes to college, you have to also apply common sense. Again, just because you have a diploma or a college degree doesn't make you smart. You have to be able to use those skills in the real world. The problem I do see with college gives you too much of the theory. And this is what going for a PhD does. You have to do a lot of research. And you're basically putting in some theory. How do you know that theory is going to work? You have to be able to test that theory. Have to draw a lot of conclusions, make a lot of assumptions. I know when I went to grad school and had to do projects, I had to make a lot of assumptions. And assumptions are made, especially if you're going to cost out something and you don't even have the resources. So you're basing everything off of historical data. But when it comes to college, particularly in engineering, you're going to learn a lot of the theory. You also need to learn the application. And me, someone who is got good smarts, is one who can apply the theory and they know how to draw a conclusion based on common sense. Notice what I said, they can apply the theory and draw the conclusion based on common sense. And when I talk about common sense, I'm talking about having somebody who isn't as college educated. They can understand what you're saying. Putting it in layman's terms. Say a good teacher, a good leader is one that doesn't have to use big words. They can use their experience. They can communicate it by showing you. This is why in the real world, I prefer hiring individuals who understand the theory and they can apply the theory, not one that's going to give me a lot of jargon. I don't have time for that. Academics tend to give you a lot of word salad. Michael Eric Dyson is one guy who's very good at that. Raphael Warnock, these pastors out here give you a lot of word salad, but they're not applying anything. In other words, they're just talking bullshit. That's what they're doing. And a lot of college is bullshit, especially with some of the courses you have to take, because you don't use half of them when you get out. And the thing about college, I will tell you, there are too many tests based off of memory. No, the way I would give a test in college is to have students look up the information. Memorization is not the best tactic, because if I'm designing something and I have to remember an equation, I might remember the wrong equation, then my design fails, and then I'm liable for it. Understand sources, write notes, and even if you are working in a trade, make sure you understand all the concepts. I mean, again, we teach our children to put so much emphasis on going to college. But I'm going to tell you something, college has produced a lot of dummies. And if you don't believe me, look at the politicians that we have in office. These individuals don't understand how the real world works. It's because they haven't had to live in the real world. They've been legislating the policies for us. So people like me have had to learn how to get around their policies. I'm not knocking education because you can get education anywhere. If you want to learn about African studies, you can do that for free. Some of the classes in college aren't worth the money. And most of the classes that you're going to take are going to be 3 credit classes, and those 3 credit classes are going to cost a certain amount per credit. Is it worth it for you to go to college and take a 3 credit class on women's studies? No, it's not. You can go on the internet and learn about women's studies. In fact, you can be a writer without going to college. If you had mastered the skills in English in high school and then you go to college, basically today, a number of college degrees are just reverberated, or they're basically glorified high school diplomas. You know, you have people saying, well, I got a degree. Well, what's your degree in? General studies. So that means you went to school and you really didn't know what to do. So you just took a bunch of courses. And what are you doing now? This is what I'm talking about, going into a field that really isn't part of your major. That's a waste of time and a waste of money. But again, when I talk about college, I'm not knocking it. Now, I'm biased. I choose to go into the STEM majors because they're hard. You don't have as much competition. And when it comes to opportunities, they're greater. And most of your STEM majors can't be outsourced. Now, you can agree or disagree with me. That's fine. But when it comes to going to school for a trade, because choose a trade too, because really trades like plumbing, heating and air conditioning, and even nursing, they're all part of STEM as well. Computer information systems, they're also STEM majors. They're also hard too. You have to know how to interpret standards and specifications. You have to know how to read. And if you're not ready for college or even a trade school, try going to the military. Because in essence, learning is fundamental for all of us. If you're going to survive in the real world, you have to understand how it works. And you can learn it through experience. You can learn it through the military. You can learn it through a trade school or college. Either way, if you want to be successful, the best thing to do is educate yourself. Why? Because it's your future, it's your choice. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you are looking for some STEM content, you check out my other channel, the QCIS channel, formerly the Mind of STEM channel. On that channel, we'll give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Some of the topics I talk about are construction, industrial engineering, statistics, and biology. Now, if you cannot find the QCIS channel or the 411 channel, 411 Talk Zone radio show on YouTube, you check both of those channels out on Twitter. Now, because the QCIS channel is an educational channel, a professional channel, you can also find that channel or the videos on my LinkedIn page. Again, you can't find the 411 Talk Zone radio show or the QCIS channel on YouTube. Videos will be posted on Twitter, and I will also post videos from the QCIS channel on my LinkedIn page. And in the end, be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. If the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. Next week, we do a live stream or pre-recorded video. Check in my community section of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, and you will know exactly what I'm going to do. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. And when I talk about next week, I'm talking about next Wednesday. That's generally when I do my live streams or pre-recorded video. Again, till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.